Hi guys and welcome. I know what you're thinking, this is not a review, and you'd be correct. I got tagged in a video by my good friend Vampire Mike from Sega City Universe. He did a video called My Favorite Gaming Possessions, and before you ask, am I one of his favorite gaming possessions? The answer is no. No, I'm not. We can all dream that dream, but not today. Not today indeed. So he did this video called My Favorite Gaming Possessions, and he tagged a few of us in, and he wanted us to do a video on it. And I know it was like 2 fucking weeks ago, and I'm only just getting around to it. I don't even have a good excuse. You could say that I've got kids, and you know, I work full time and all that sort of stuff, but really, this is just like my 20th attempt at this. And I know it seems like trying to aim for perfection is like an ego thing, but it's really not, because what ends up happening is I get like 2 minutes into it, and then I just start unloading all my insecurities, and then I'm like, oh, nope, gotta stop recording that. We can't talk about that. But pretty much, I don't really spend money on like memorabilia. I don't own a cool like Dreamcast kiosk or have a cool arcade cabinet or anything. I spend most of my money on games and consoles, mostly games. But you know, there's been the odd console I've spent more money than I should have on it many moons ago, of course. So also too, I want to preface this video by saying that some of these games that I'm going to show you aren't necessarily worth much in money, but just mean a lot to me. So I'm trying to make these videos as diverse as possible, and also too, I want to make this video, I'll probably break this up into parts, because if it's just one video, it'll be like, you know, an hour long, and no one's going to sit through that, and I don't expect anyone to.
6.5 hours later.
So, I guess let's start off with the very first one. Now, if you watch my video on this channel here, you know that I tend to like the Sega Saturn. So the very first game is Earthworm Jim 2 for the Sega Saturn. Now, not necessarily Sega Saturn per se, but Earthworm Jim 2 most definitely. The fact that it's on an excellent console is really just, you know, it's icing on the cake. That's really all it is. It's a great game, and every time I think of Earthworm Jim, I'm really just thinking of Earthworm Jim 2. I've played the first handful of these levels on this game that many times. I still suck at this game. Don't get me wrong, because I will be reviewing this later on this year, and when you see gameplay of that, you'll be like, it's like he's never played this game before. And while that gives the impression, believe you me, I have played this many times, and I still quite rightly suck. I don't know if you've seen any of my reviews before, because if that shouldn't become a surprise to anyone, by the way. If you're watching my reviews and you're like, he's not very good at this game, you must be new. So alright, so that's the first game. Next game I have here is Super Mario 3D World for the Wii U. Now this is actually, or as my son calls it, Mario Kittens. He's adorable. With this particular game, it's actually the opposite to some of these other ones where I'm like, I picked this up for 10 cents and now it's worth $1 million. I mean, obviously not that extreme, but you get what I'm saying. I actually paid full price for this game, and I regret nothing. Yes, it's only worth like, I don't know, 30, 35 bucks now secondhand, but it is an excellent game from start to finish. It was pretty much my game of the year from last year or the year before. I don't really have a solid grasp on time, so I can't really tell you what year I finished it, which is really sad. But anyway, this is the game, and I fucking love this game, and there is nothing about it that I regret paying full price for, but I don't tend to pay full price for much. Yeah, I'm always sort of like a second hand or what have you, or even if it's brand new but it's discounted. That's usually my bag. But anyway, I've got you know, the nostalgia attached to this game too. So it's actually the first game my son and I finished together, which it's nice. You know, it's really nice. Have that little moment together, and he was there. I mean, he wasn't really helping because he was like 3, but you know, just for him and I to spend time together as father and son, it was yeah, it was really nice, really special. Look, it doesn't always have to be jokes. I can be serious. It's just often that I choose not to. Alright, the next game I have is X-Men vs. Street Fighter on the Sega Saturn. Now, the thing is, you take an excellent game, excellent console, boom, and you've got yourself this game. It is also an excellent port, which should not be a surprise to anyone. Capcom, Sega Saturn, those two were practically a match made in heaven when this was all going on. And there is not a game like this, the one-on-one fighting genre of games, where the presentation of this game, I have not seen a game like it that I think is as good or better than this game. Now, I grew up with this game in the arcade, so I've got that whole nostalgia thing going, but I genuinely love the presentation of this game. I also like the roster. It's not a large roster, but it really doesn't need to be. It's got enough of the characters there, and you've got, obviously, your hidden hero at the top, Akuma, which, by the way, shouldn't be a surprise to anyone considering he's right on the fucking cover, but anyway. It also has one of my favourite characters in the game, Juggernaut. Yeah, now, I know he handles like a bus, but the guy not only can dish out a punch, but he can also take one, and I fucking love that about him. I mean, he's a big dumb character, but something about him I just love. I don't know whether it's because I relate or what, but he's fun. I love him. He's good. And I like the fact that he takes up like a ridiculous amount of space on screen, so he's got that going for him as well. But this is excellent. If I lost all my games, this one would be one of the first ones back in a heartbeat. Easy, easy. Alright, the next one I got is... excuse me, The Last Story for the Wii. Now, I know holding up a Wii game and going, you know, this is one of my favorite gaming possessions is heresy, but it's, first of all, I've never played the game, so I don't even really know if it's actually a good game. All I have to go on is what the internet tells me, and the general consensus among not just Metacritic is just one small facet of it, but also too, in the Wii enthusiast groups I'm in, this is considered to be one of the best RPGs, not only for the console, but for its time as well. So, it's got that going for it. And look, don't discount the Wii enthusiast groups on Facebook either, because there's literally tens of us. And it's a great game, and I'm happy to own it because it's worth, especially in the PAL region. See, some of these, because they're in the US region, or they might not be worth as much in America. In Australia, they are worth a pretty penny. Well, all the ones that I'm, you know, obviously make mention of. But this is another one where it is, I paid, yeah, like $80 for, $90, something like that. And keeping in mind too, brand new with the Nintendo seal. And it goes for much, well, not much more, but it goes for more than that on eBay. So I'm very happy that I own this. And yes, I will get around to playing this casually during the year. No, I won't do a review for it. And I've got nothing against RPGs, it's just that I am really bad at storytelling, and I noticed this when I tried to tell stories in literally any other review that I've ever done, and realized, damn, I am not good at this. So I'm pretty much just going to play it in the background, and then obviously form my own opinion that way, instead of having to do a video and tell everyone about it. The next game I have, I know what you're thinking, another Wii game, really? But this one is another special one, because back in 2009 when I first got my Wii, I only bought it on the proviso that I could hack it, and I could put some GameCube games on it as well. And the reason why my wife wanted to buy it, right, because she was actually the instigator of buying a Wii, which I know sounds like a weird thing, you know, like me being the hardcore gamer, you think to yourself, why didn't you buy it? Because I really wasn't that interested in the Wii. My wife wanted it for Wii Fit, which I'm sure everyone who ever got a Wii wanted Wii Fit, which we all used for a week, and then decided, fuck this shit, this is ridiculous. My heart's beating out of my chest, I'm feeling sweaty, mum spaghetti. I don't know why I said that. That's retarded. So I bought it. I bought the Wii, and as I say, we did Wii Fit for a week or two. When this game is way too sassy for us, it was giving us a lot of grief about the fact that, you know, we're not using it every day, or we're not using it for 12 hours a day, and suggested that we're probably fat pieces of shit, which you know, it's got me, you know, guilty as charged. But one of the things that I got on there was a bunch of GameCube games, and when the GameCube first came out, first of all, I was very dismissive of it because I didn't own one, I didn't have any friends that owned one, and all the games on it just seemed to be like not that particularly interesting. Like even Super Mario Sunshine, I didn't really like the look of the game mechanic. Mario Kart Double Dash didn't look that appealing. Luigi's Mansion looked pretty good, so I was like, yeah, alright, that's alright. But even though I got to play Super Mario Sunshine later on, really when I did get around to playing it, it really just confirmed my biases that I had right up until that point. And also too, I completely concede on Mario Kart Double Dash because that game is not only an excellent game, but it has some of the best tracks in the entire series. And I don't say that lightly because it was the game itself, the gameplay is not as good as obviously later iterations. However, it had some pretty interesting mechanics that I did like, and I thought brought something a little bit different to the series. And definitely the tracks were really the selling point. Now, the third game from the GameCube perspective, I mean, there was actually quite a few, but one of the ones that was really speaking to me was, of course, Fire Emblem on the GameCube. Now, I want to own that game today, but of course, I don't have $200 to $250 just lying around and blowing a game that I had, that I must have spent like 50 or 60 hours into that game. I almost got past the tutorial too, but they ended up having a sequel on the Wii, and that is Radiant Dawn. Now, I also need to stipulate too that this is actually a good game. It's not worth as much, but it's one of those games where I did really well out of this, because I actually bought this with store credit, and I paid just under $100, and it's in absolutely excellent condition. Now, I got this from CEX, and generally some of their games can be pretty dodgy, so I didn't really want to spend actual cash on this, because as I said, it was just shy of $100, so I got it with store credit, and yeah, I've been loving it ever since. It's just it just ticks across the board, great condition. It's worth over that now these days on eBay, but it's certainly a nice one to have, and one that I'm very proud to have on my shelf. Now, do I really have enough time for one last game? Alright, we're going to keep it... I'll try and keep this as short as possible, but the last game I have is Battle Sport for the Sega Saturn. Now, when I first got my Sega Saturn in 2009, and yes, I do know that in 2009 I also got a Wii. I got the Wii like halfway during the year, and I got the Sega Saturn for Christmas, because my wife had no idea what to get me, which... Ironically, if she just got me the Wii, I never would have gotten the Sega Saturn. I probably would have the following year, maybe. But this really started me on a downward trajectory in terms of you know, how much money I would spend on this console, and on an upward trajectory on how many games I would actually own in the library. And so what I did when I first got my Sega Saturn is I went onto eBay like a psychotic maniac and tried to find all the games that I really couldn't find. Like, I did a search and see what games didn't turn up when I searched for it. Now, you have to understand too, eBay back in 2009 is a very different beast to what we have these days. So there were a handful of games that didn't show up. 3 of them that I can remember specifically were all US only exclusives on the Sega Saturn. Not necessarily console exclusives, but region exclusives for sure, and this was one of them. It was a port from the 3DO Battle Sport, and I've done a review on this game, and it's not very good. It's hot fire. It's fucking garbage fire, this game. It is trash, which reminds me I've got to put the garbage out, and I'll do that soon. But I bought this game for $35. Now, keeping in mind too that I spent 2 whole years looking for this fucking game. It wasn't just oh, I can't find it, I'll just wait till next week, because next week rolls around and I still can't find it. Or I managed to find it in like beat up condition, or disc only, or it's in a bundle, or any number of possible scenarios. Now, I'm making it sound like this game always popped up quite often on eBay, and that was not the case. It popped up maybe 8 or 9 times in the entire 2 years that I was looking for this game. Now, the other 2 games that I was looking for, which was Grand Slam, which I managed to pick up for like 30 or 35 bucks, and Herc's Adventures. Herc's Adventures actually did turn up a fair bit at the time, but it always went for a price higher than I was willing to pay. Eventually, I found a buyer that had it in excellent condition and wanted, I think, 70 or 75 bucks. I popped that down. I bought it, got him to ship it over here, and one of these days, I'll actually play it and see how it actually goes, see if it was worth the money. It's been many years since I bought that game, but this game is one that I have played. And the other thing, the crazy thing about this, after all this, right, and during that 2 years too, I used that feature in eBay where you can actually save your searches, and it will email you the response. I bought this game as soon as it popped up, but I played this game. It's hot garbage, but now the crazy thing is this game is worth like 200 bucks. It's like Winning Post. I think that's the name of the game. Horse racing game, the US version of it, because it was released in Japan and the US region. Also goes, the US version rather, goes for a phenomenal amount of money. The Japan version is actually, I think, relatively cheap. I don't know. It's been a long time since I've actually checked. But this game is insane in terms of how much it's actually worth. It's not really even worth the 35 bucks I pumped out for it in the first place, and I'm very proud to own this in my collection. It's just a little bit sad that really all it's going to do is just sit on my shelf and collect dust, and every now and again I can just whip it out and go, hey, see this game? It's worth a lot and it's dog shit. That's really all I can do. And show friends, and they'll be like, yeah, this game's crap. Do you want to do like something else, like, you know, fun? Which this game is not. So yeah, that's it. That's the first lot. I don't know if I'm going to do another video, but I do have a lot more games to talk about. And I know that I managed to spend like almost 20 minutes just talking about like 6 games, but there you go. Mike, you brought this on yourself. I blame you. I kid, of course. But yeah, that's number 1. I don't know if there will be a number 2 or 3 or what have you, but I'm really keen to kind of show you guys more of my collection. I really want to do a video where I show you my entire collection, but that'll have to be for another time. Anyway, thank you very much for watching, and I hope to catch you in the next one.